Hello and welcome to another Bones V Kickstarter review. Today we'll be looking at the third group of add-ons that I managed to pick up, and as the title suggests, we'll be looking at the encounter Spiders of Emrith Kul, Arakoth the Ancient, and the Elemental Scions. Of these three, only the two spider add-ons are available in the 5.5 Pledge Manager. However, that just implies that the Scions will be heading to retail soon. If you're interested in acquiring them or any other Kickstarter item, scan the QR code at the end of the video or visit pm.reapermini.com or reapermini.com for more information. If this is your first time seeing a review in this series, I have many more deep dives on my channel for you to check out. But you can get to them quicker by clicking the card in the corner of the video or by checking out the links in the description. Alright, now without further ado, on with the review. If spiders really aren't your thing, then perhaps these first two add-ons are not for you. I'd recommend just watching the Elemental Scions section and then checking out a different video in the playlist. If we're good to continue though, well, let's get on with the show. First up, we have the encounter Spiders of Emrith Kul. This encounter includes a ruined shrine infested with giant spiders who've littered the site with the corpses of their victims. And as we do with all encounters, we get a hero figure to boot, in this instance a little halfling fighter. Alrighty, let's get a closer look, shall we? First we have a couple of cocoon bodies. These would be great for any medium human-sized humanoids. Dwarves and halflings get no rep here, but I think they'd be fine with that given the circumstance. These two could also represent folks who may still be alive. This one, on the other hand, no such luck. This victim is more exposed and seems to have been desiccated. We also get another similar yet different husk, this one a bit more skeletal. With both of these, they have a nice flat bottom and make for some nice, if gruesome, scatter terrain pieces. This is no terrain though, this is the first of the spiders. This is one of the two small spiders, even though this would be huge for a spider, about the size of a dog. Yikes. These spiders aren't all carbon copies either, by the way. The second one is much more of a hairy tarantula to me. It's almost cute, even. Almost. I think this one would make for a neat familiar or animal companion, if that's on the cards for your characters. And here we have our two proper giant spiders. I really like the pose on this first one. It looks like a spider feeling its way about its environment. And I also appreciate the layer of fuzz on it too. Adds to the realism, I think. I think I'm just realizing I like fuzzy spiders. The second big Goyle is a lot more heavily plated and honestly looks a little less like a real spider, but hey, this is for a fantasy game after all. You'll have noticed by now that none of these come on bases. That lets you do some interesting things with these, like wedging them at the top of the ruins here, but it does make a lot of them feel more like terrain to me than actual minis. And all in all, the namesakes of this set didn't disappoint, but they don't blow me away either. And I feel like I should have got more spiders for a Spiders of Emrith Kul set. The actual star, it seems, of this encounter is this well-armored halfling hero. We get a lot of rogues, bards, and other lightly armored halfling minis. It's good to see a well-armored and armed one such as this. My favorite detail about him, though, is the acorn on its shield. I'd love to ask the sculptor if this was actually the case, but to me that feels like a Hobbit reference, but with the spiders and the ruins all around. But yeah, it's a very nice little hero figure for the encounter and feels very appropriate for it. Finally, for this encounter, we have the ruins themselves. There's this statue, which is unattached and can stand alone on its own as a bit of scattered terrain, though the backside is untextured. A bit of a missed opportunity there in my opinion, but it's meant to tie into the rest of the ruin, so I get it. Pretty creepy statue. Would work as a gravestone or an altar, I think. Speaking of, the main ruin seems to be some sort of altar or a nook from a larger structure. It's all one piece, though a very minor bit of assembly is required in putting the old guardrails on, but it wasn't really any trouble. This thick chunk of plastic wasn't warped or anything and managed to pack a fair amount of texture and detail into what could have been just some plain stone. You can make out several egg clutches along with a dangling victim. It's very great thematically, though it might make it a little odd to use outside of spidery encounters. Beyond that, you can kind of fit a mini on the stairs, but if you remove the statue, you're left with the perfect space to place a character or two. All in all, a pretty nice thematic encounter. Leaves a little bit to be desired for me, but I'm not mad at it. The spiders could have been a bit more interesting, and I think the best part of the set is actually the halfling hero, not the spiders. As such, I'll be giving this set an overall score of 9 out of 12. If you thought those were some big spiders, then get ready for this next add-on, Arakoth the Ancient Colossal Spider. And Colossal is right. Look at the size of this thing. Now this is how you do a giant spider. And sure, the size of it is very impressive, but it also has some character, some motion, and I would argue a genuinely terrifying design. Every part of Arakoth looks deadly, from its long fangs to its sharp legs and the spike at the tip of its abdomen. Looking at this figure, you might think it was hard to assemble, but it was actually very easy. Every limb has a very specific shape to its connector that only fit with its specific slot. If the assembler was really unsure how to put this together, a simple trial and error method would solve the riddle. Even so, I'll always recommend dry fitting before gluing, as if you do glue something wrong, fixing it is a serious pain in the abdomen. Arakoth has quite an interesting abdomen with a massive spike and an interestingly textured underside. This part of the figure is also hollow, so I guess you could put something in there to rattle around if you really wanted to for some reason. As you can see, I didn't glue this figure to its base. It really doesn't need to be either. The holes for its legs are easy to find and slot in, and it stands on its own just fine. Yes, so overall this figure is really excellently done. I thought it was a pretty good value when I got it, and I'm very happy with the purchase. I would highly recommend picking it up for your games. Just check with your players before potentially scarring them with something they have a severe phobia of. This is a rare 12 out of 12 add-on from me. Got no issues, no complaints, just good vibes. Alrighty, the arachnids are gone. Now we'll be taking a look at the Elemental Scions. These are 3 figures representing 3 different elemental genies representing earth, fire, and water. The 4th, Air, was included as a bonus in the Fan Favorites expansion. First up, we have an approximation of the 5e Dao Otomi. The gist is all here, Earth's Genie with a large hammer, but Reaper has taken this template and embellished it greatly. Reaper has given her an almost demonic or Oni-like appearance with large curved horns and sharp fangs and tusks. All over this highly detailed figure are also lots of little skull beads and other little skull carvings. Perhaps the coolest part of the figure, in my opinion, though, is the hammer, which seems to almost be inspired by a certain aspect of traditional Chinese architecture and sculptural design. Definitely wouldn't want to get whacked by that. Only potential minor issue with this figure is the long braid that trails behind it. It's fairly sturdy, but it could become a potential break point for the figure, so make sure not to throw this one in a tub with a bunch of other figures if you don't want to see that snap off. Next, the approximation of a 5e Ifriti Khan. Another instance of Reaper taking a template and enhancing certain elements of it. They've really emphasized the horns and embellished the lawful evil figure with lots and lots of skull iconography, including what looks to be a dragon skull on the belt. The shoulder pauldron is another highlight of this figure with its angry demon face design. You know, with all of the design choices on this figure, you could really use this as an Ifriti or just as some kind of demon prince or whatever also. It just has a bit of synergy with either faction. If this evil bad guy isn't the look you're going for though, this one may be a bit of a hard sell just based on looks. As, you know, not too many good guys are often depicted running around covered in skulls and other, threatening elements. And lastly, the approximation of the 5e Merid, the weird fish people water genies, Merid Pasha. Not even this figure escaped the skull obsession, though its influences are way more subtle. This one is a weird case, as the mirror design is so different now than it ever was in previous iterations of D&D, and Reaper has gone with the new, most recent design, which, in my opinion, works great. I really get the vibe that this thing is a water-based genie who likes to collect things given all the little stuff dangling from its belt, of which we can spot a pig buckle, some pouches, a potion or wine bottle, and a little cage or lantern. Wonder what's in there. Perhaps the least threatening looking genie, I think Reaper did a great job in capturing the gist of this figure's inspiration. Before we go, I wanted to plop down the fan favorites gin, so we can get a good look at what all of these look like in their proper quartet. You can check out more about this figure in the fan favorites video. They're all thematically consistent and scale well together, and oh wow, do they look great lined up. I still think it's funky that one of these was chucked out and thrown into a completely unrelated expansion set, and they maybe could have toned down the skulls a bit, but for me, paying about $4 each for these three, I'd say they were still well worth what I paid. A solid 10 out of 12 from me. And with that, we conclude our third set of add-on reviews. Which of these was your favorite? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. You can expect more of these shorter form review videos to come, where I will break down nearly every add-on from this Kickstarter. For the bigger sets of figures, be sure to check out the review playlist for the core set and the expansions. And if you see anything in there or in these that you're interested in buying, head to pm.reapermini.com or reapermini.com for more information. If you found this video helpful, enjoyable, or some other adjective, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Really helps me out. Seeing your support really genuinely makes my day. Alrighty. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good one. Let's go paint some mini.